Hey everyone, it's the Doom Dog. Now that I have done my video reviews of both the PlayStation Classic and the 8-bit DOE wireless adapter for the PlayStation Classic, I figured I would do a little bit of video, tell you I hacked this thing, and I would show you all the games that I put on it. Keep in mind that every single game that I added to this is something that I own a copy of. And for almost all of them, it's a physical copy. I don't own a physical copy of every single game on this. There are 2 that I own digital copies of, but I do own every single game that I added. So, Alone in the Dark, One-Eyed Jack's Revenge. This is a sequel to the very first survival horror game ever made. This is Alone in the Dark 2, actually. Alone in the Dark 1 came to consoles, but it was only on the 3DO, I believe. This one came to the PlayStation 1, and this game is very tough. I'll put it that way. I have Alundra 1 and 2 both here, and gotta be honest with you, I have not played either one of these, so I can't tell you how good or not good they are. So there's a lot of games that I haven't really bothered or played, so I have a large backlog of stuff that I need to either play or finish. Apocalypse. This is an action game starring Bruce Willis, where you basically try to take down the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You run around and you can shoot in any direction, and it's basically just run around and shoot everything that moves. It's actually pretty fun. There's Battle Arena Toshinden, obviously that ship with the console. Brave Fencer Musashi is kind of like a Squaresoft rather answer to the Legend of Zelda or something. It's an action RPG, and a pretty darn good one. It's got a good sense of humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's silly and fun, and if you haven't played it, I would recommend it. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, of course. Why wouldn't I put this one on here? I own a physical copy of it, and it's goddamn awesome, so yeah. Chrono Cross. I am not as big of a fan of this one. I think this one lacks the charm of Chrono Trigger, so it didn't have anywhere near the appeal to me as the original, so it's kind of a disappointment and kind of meh. Not bad, just it does nothing for me. Chrono Trigger. Now this game's fucking phenomenal. I absolutely love Chrono Trigger. It's amazing. Probably needs no introduction to anybody watching this video, but Chrono Trigger, great characters, great soundtrack, just great setting, great world, great story, fun gameplay, just an all-around amazing game. Cool Borders 2 obviously is one of the games that it came with. Crash Bandicoot 1. This is one of the 2 games that I own digitally instead of a physical copy of. I don't know why I don't own a physical copy of this one. I used to, and I don't know what happened to it. Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. Gotta have the sequel. It's a significant improvement of the original and still holds up extremely well today. This is a great 3D platformer. Crash Bandicoot 3. We could argue all day about which one's better and probably never come to a conclusion, because both Crash 2 and 3 are amazing platformers. Absolutely highly recommended. Destruction Derby came with the console. Diablo. Okay, this is a surprisingly good version of Diablo. You would think that moving from the PC to the console, it wouldn't play nearly as well, and obviously you're losing the online play, but you get the you do get 2-player co-op, so that's fun. But this is the version that I Let's Played back in the day and did a video review of. It's a great game. Dino Crisis. What would happen if you took the Resident Evil formula and replaced the zombies with dinosaurs? You'd get Dino Crisis. And it's just as awesome as that sounds. Now the weird thing about this is you can move while aiming, and that would not come to the Resident Evil series until, what, 6? Why did it take so long to implement that in the RE series, but this got it right in 1999. Doom. If you have not played the PlayStation version of Doom, I would highly recommend giving it a try. It's a lot of fun. It's got a unique feel with a reworked sound design, some reworked levels, some Doom 2 enemies appear in Doom 1. It's got an awesome new soundtrack that really gives it a unique horror atmosphere, and it's got very moody colored lighting that strongly resembles, like, I'm blanking, but it's got very moody colored lighting. Final Fantasy Origins. There's a lot of Final Fantasy you can fucking see there. Final Fantasy Origins. Obviously, Final Fantasy 1 and 2 must have for any RPG fan. Final Fantasy 4. I decided to do Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 4 as two separate things on this thing, so I could just boot up either one I want. PlayStation version. A lot of people don't like these versions. I don't mind them. Still great games. Final Fantasy 4 is a timeless classic for a reason. Final Fantasy 9. This is my favorite of the PlayStation 3 trilogy of Final Fantasy games. It's fucking phenomenal. I absolutely love the music, I love the story, I love the characters, and the world. It's an amazing game. Final Fantasy Tactics might be even better than 9. Debatable, but still very, very good. Plays different, obviously. It's a tactical RPG instead of a more traditional turn-based one, but still a very, very good game. Final Fantasy V. This one is kind of overlooked by a lot of people, I think. Obviously, we didn't get it until it came out in the United States in 1999 with this Final Fantasy Anthology Collection. It didn't come out on its original console, which was the Super Nintendo. So this was our first exposure to it. But it's kind of quirky and weird and doesn't take itself too incredibly seriously, but I really like that about it. It's a lot of fun. Final Fantasy VI is the best RPG ever made. Fucking fight me. The world, the music, the story, this game's fucking perfect. Final Fantasy VIII. I bothered to put this one on here because I was just putting on my entire collection. I don't really like 8. I like the music. I like a lot of the art design in the world, and I would have fun exploring it if it had a more traditional systems, like instead of draw and junction systems, you have a more traditional magic system and a more traditional equipment system. I would at least like playing it a lot more, but as it stands, it's just tedious, and I don't like the characters, and I don't like the story. Final Fantasy VII, obviously it was included with it. Fox Sports NHL Championship 2000. Okay, let me explain why this one's here. I bought this at a Goodwill type of store for 50 cents because one of my favorite hockey players of all time is on the cover. That's Mike Modano. That's why I bought it. I did a gameplay video of it on my gameplay channel, and I haven't touched it since because sports games really aren't my thing. But I own it, so I decided to put it on here. Gran Turismo. Okay, I played so goddamn much Gran Turismo back in the day. This game is so much fun. I'm not even a particularly big racing guy, and this game was so much fun. Digging into all the sim stuff and all the different ways you could mod your car and making it obscenely fast and everything. God, it was so fun. Gran Turismo 2 Arcade. Gran Turismo 2, obviously you had the 2-disc for Gran Turismo 2, the arcade disc, and the simulation disc. And the simulation disc was greatly expanded over the original game. You had more tracks, more cars, more stuff you could do to those cars. They expanded everything in this game. and it was a much bigger game than the original, which is why you had the arcade mode and the simulation mode on 2 separate discs. Grand Theft Auto obviously came with the original console. Guardians Crusade. I bought this way back in the day when I was just buying up any RPG. When GameStop was trying to get rid of all of their PlayStation 1 stock, I bought this game because I was just buying up any RPG that I could get my hands on, and I'm yet to actually play it. I've heard people that have played it tell me that it's good, and I probably will someday, especially once I can get like a captured card inside my PC to actually stream. I'll probably set this up here and just hook it up and stream classic RPGs and shit from it. Intelligence Cube was one of the 20 games, so was Jumping Flash. Kingsfield. Okay, this is going way the fuck back. Kingsfield was an early PlayStation 1 game. I believe this was, 1996, so this was pre-analog. This was, like, probably within the first full year of its existence. This is from Software before they became known for making the hardest fucking games in the world. And this was kind of like an open world action RPG played from the first person. Kind of like the Elder Scrolls, but this was far uglier than any Elder Scrolls games, because obviously the PlayStation 1 would really fucking struggle to do a big open world. And they kind of tried to trick it into doing it with this one. And it's slow and plotting, and you have to get used to that if you're going to enjoy it. Kingsfield 2 is basically, it's more of the same. It's another From Software game, so you kind of know what to expect on a difficulty level, I suppose. Legend of Legaia. This game's fucking awesome. Great music, great characters, interesting world and setting, likable story, but the real star of the show here is the battle system. The battle system is based on fighting game mechanics, so you'll have different combinations of kicks and punches to pull off a wide variety of special moves, and you will learn more and more special moves as you play throughout the game. It's awesome. It's grindy, but it is awesome. Highly recommend playing Legend of Legaia. Medal of Honor. This was a, surprisingly, this was a kind of a big deal back in the day. This was the game that started the World War II craze that lasted basically close to about a decade, I guess. You couldn't go to GameStop in the mid to late 2000s without seeing a bunch of World War II games on the shelves, and this game and its success was why, but this was actually a pretty damn good first-person shooter. Like every other first-person shooter on this system and on the Nintendo 64, its controls haven't aged particularly well, but it was very, very good. Medal of Honor Underground was just more Medal of Honor, so it was very, very good and hasn't aged particularly well. The level design and music still hold up. The guns still feel good to fire. But those controls, man. Medieval. Awesome action game with a good, quirky sense of humor. If you've never played Medieval 1 or 2, you should definitely give it a try, especially with that remake coming out for it that looks awesome. Megaman Legends. God, I wish Capcom would quit ignoring Megaman Legends, because Megaman Legends 1 and 2 are fucking awesome. I love these two games. Absolutely love these two games. Highly recommend it. You sit down and play through these sometime. It's kind of like a combination of The Legend of Zelda with Mega Man, with all the gun attachments and upgrades you can get. It's really, really fun once you get used to the controls. Mega Man Legends 2. It's Mega Man Legends 1 with improved controls. That's really all there is to it. It's also awesome. Highly recommended. Metal Gear Solid, obviously the best game for the PlayStation 1, and included with the original thing. Metal Gear Solid VR missions. Basically, this was an expansion pack for Metal Gear Solid that gave you a lot more VR missions and some missions where you could play, that you could unlock where you could play as Gray Fox. Mr. Driller obviously was included with the original. Need for Speed 3. I bought this for pretty cheap because I needed another game to do drive casts with, and that's why I own it. I did play this back in the day with my brother, and it was pretty fun to play, to switch back and forth between playing as the cops and playing as the drivers, and it's a fun game. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, obviously that was included with the original. This is basically, it's just like Apocalypse without Bruce Willis. That's basically what this is, and it's also pretty darn fun. It's an action-packed game. If you like third-person shooters and action games, you'll probably get a kick out of it. It's fun. Parasite Eve. This is a unique combination of survival horror and roleplay, and there's really nothing else quite like Parasite Eve, and if you like those two genres, you will like Parasite Eve. Let me just get flat out. If you like survival horror and role-playing, you will like Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve 2, not as good as the first. Definitely not as good as the first, and it wasn't as well received by fans. Like, there's a lot of fans that just flat out don't like this game, and I can't really blame them. It's not that bad. Persona 2, Eternal Punishment. Yes, I own a physical copy of Persona 2, and it's, I mean, what do you want me to say? It's a classic. A very tough classic, as they tend to be. But unfortunately, we only got the first half of it, and we only got the second half of the game, because Persona 2 is the second half of a two-part game. Because there's also one called Innocent Sin that only came out in Japan, and we didn't get that till the PlayStation Portable like a decade later. Thanks a lot, Atlas. Ridge Racer, obviously on the original. Rayman, obviously on the original. Resident Evil 2, the DualShock edition. Obviously, I divided it up into Claire and Leon discs. Obviously, everybody's played Resident Evil 2. It's a timeless classic. It improves upon the first game in a number of ways. If you haven't played Resident Evil 2, what the hell are you waiting for? Either pick this up or pick up the remake, or both. Both could be worth your time. I have a demo disc of Resident Evil Nemesis that I bothered to put on this. I actually do own Resident Evil Nemesis, but I own it for the Dreamcast. I do not own the original PlayStation version. So, yeah, there's that demo disc of it. I don't even remember what the demo disc came with. I think it might have come with Dino Crisis, but don't quote me on that. Resident Evil Director's Cut, obviously, came with the original. Revelations Persona came with the original. Rhapsody: A Musical Adventure. This is a truly unique RPG, because from a gameplay standpoint, I guess it's fairly traditional, but it's a musical. Like you'd go to see on stage at a theater live, like Cats or Jesus Christ Superstar, musical. That's what this game is. So your ability to put up with it depends upon how much you like the music. Oh, I forgot to mention, Medieval is the other game that I do not own a physical copy of. RPG Maker. Yeah, I own a physical copy of this one. This is the kind of thing that really should be on PC, because this is basically a massive level and campaign designer. You want to create RPGs, you can do it here, but it's not the easiest process in the world. There's a lot of work that you're going to put into it. Silent Hill, Konami's attempt at survival horror, and a very successful one. And it very much differentiates itself from the Resident Evils of the world. This is much less action-packed. This is much less jump scare. This is much more psychological, and it works very well. This is a great game. I love Silent Hill. Soul Blade. I have never been able to get my disc of this to play on any system that I have that will play PlayStation 1 games. So I've never been able to play Soul Blade, but this is basically the first Soul Calibur, is essentially what this is. Spyro the Dragon. Obviously, I need at least one Spyro game. I need the other two. I really need to get the other two Spyro games, but Spyro 1 is awesome. It's Insomniac, and, you know, they do good, more open level design, and that's what this is. It's good, well-designed levels that are more open. Highly recommend playing Spyro. And there's also a remake of the Spyro trilogy out for the PlayStation 4. I haven't played it, but I've heard it's good. Squaresoft 1998 Collector's CD Volume 2. It's just a demo of Final Fantasy VIII. That's all it is. I decided to make a ROM of it for archival purposes because I imagine this disc is probably pretty rare. Squaresoft 2000 Collector's CD Volume 3. This has a bunch of different demos on it. Legend of Mana, Threads of Fate, I don't remember what else, but there's a bunch of different demos on here. It's a demo collection. Star Wars Dark Forces. This game is awesome, but you should play it on PC, where you can use a mod for high resolution and modern controls and that kind of thing. But yeah, this was a very early example of a first-person shooter taking its story more seriously. You get voiced cutscenes, you get Mon Mothma, you get the stealing the Death Star plans. A lot more story than you usually get with a first-person shooter of that era. Beyond that, it plays a lot like Doom. I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, the Doom clone thing was pretty applicable to this. But it's still a very good game. Highly recommended. Suikoden. Yes, I own Suikoden 1 and 2, and yes, they're awesome, and yes, you should play them. These are great RPGs. A lot of people swear by these and say that they're even better than the Final Fantasies. I don't know if I would go that far, but they are very, very good RPGs that separate themselves from Final Fantasy, like with massive battles and tons of recruitable characters. And I have Suikoden 2 as well, which is even better than the first one. Highly recommend playing both of these. They're great games. Yeah, Suikoden's awesome. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo was on the original system. Siphon Filter was on the original system. Tekken 3 was on the original system. The Legend of Dragoon. This one has an awesome battle system and good music, and that's usually the reason that people love it so much. The dialogue and translation's pretty goofy, not the best. The story can be a little bit cliched, but likable. The characters can be kind of cliched, but likable. What really stands out here really is the battle system. And Sony, if you're listening, and I know you're not, make a fucking sequel to this, goddammit. Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, fucking play this on PC. This was on the original console. Tomb Raider, highly recommend the GOG version of this. The PlayStation version's not bad, but the GOG version lets you run it at much, much higher resolutions and proper widescreen for a better experience overall. And it takes getting used to the controls, because if you've played the more modern Tomb Raider games, it's going to feel very, very, very dated and tanky. And it definitely takes getting used to, but there's a lot of good level design and clever puzzles and stuff like that to experience playing this one if you can get past that control hurdle. Twisted Metal was on the original. It was one of the original 20. Vagrant Story. Play this fucking game. This is kind of a third-person action RPG with kind of a that has a tactical element to it, where you can select what weapons you want to, or what body parts you want to attack, and it will have effects on your enemies if you attack certain body parts. But the story is really good. It's complex. It's more adult. It's darker. The writing is very, very good. It's up there with Final Fantasy XII. Same director. Or the original director, not the guy that finished off the game. The guy that left when he was most of the way through the game, and because he got sick. Valkyrie Profile. I used to own this for the PlayStation Portable, and I would recommend that version of it over the original because it is an improvement. But if you have the original or that, you should give it a try. It's a lot of fun, interesting story, interesting characters, interesting world, music, all that good stuff. Everything you like about Onyx RPGs is there. Warhawk. It's like a, I guess, 6 Degrees of Flight game? I don't know what you'd call this, but it's flight combat. Flight combat, I'll just call it that. Because you have this super special plane called the Warhawk that is supposed to be tougher and better than everybody and go on solo missions and just kick everybody's ass. And it's got all these awesomely cheesy and corny live action sequences that are a lot of fun to watch. Wild Arms obviously was one of the original games on it. Wild Arms 2, very I have not played Wild Arms 2. This is another one that I have owned it. It's in my to-play pile, and I just have never gotten around to it. So I don't really know what to say with Wild Arms 2. I hope it's as good as the first one. Xenogears. Fucking play Xenogears. It's awesome. Again, it more adult, more darker, wonderful story, wonderful characters. Immensely likable. Just fucking play Xenogears. It's great. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe down below. It'd be greatly appreciated. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye, everybody.